Hello and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. As you can see, we're doing another split screen video, digital art, and I'm going to do a book topic over here. Today we're talking about my TBR, my to be read list for the Spooktober Readathon taking place through all of October. I will leave links where you can find out more down below. If you're not interested in what's happening on the art side of the screen, skip ahead to this timestamp or I will break it up in the timeline down below. Quick little explanation of the art you're watching me do. I am doing more digital art. I want to put a lot more new stuff in my stores on RedBubble and Zazzle, those kind of places. And I also, ever since like May leading into Pride Month, I've seen a whole lot of subtle Pride merch where like it's a cute cat, or where like it's a cute cat playing with a ball of yarn, or a frog sitting on a very segmented lily pad, and those things are colored in all of the different colors of all of the different pride flags. So like if you know what you're looking for, you know what you're seeing, but if you don't know what you're looking for, it's just a cute cat or a weird frog. I love those, but so many of them are not companies close to me, so like shipping's really expensive, and a lot of them, it's a cute idea, but it's just not a piece I would wear. Like, I wouldn't wear that style of frog. So I want to contribute to the world's collection of subtle Pride merch. And since we're going into October, we're going into spooky time, we're gonna do some cute spooky designs. Alright, moving on with it. So, what is the Spooktober Readathon? This is a readathon that takes place in all of October. We are divided into 3 teams. I am on Team Zombie, so we are reading horror. Basically, we're communicating on Discord, and the teams are going to all earn points based on what everybody's reporting back that they have read. There are assigned books, there are assigned missions, tasks to accomplish, but then we also get points per page for everything else that we read during the month, which is great, because I do still have like a blog schedule, I do still have other things to review. So let's go through the assigned books for Team Zombie, let's go through the assigned challenges for Team Zombie, and then we'll go over some other books that I might try to squeeze in to fit with the Spooktober theme as well, even though I have way too many other things to read. So, earning 100 points each, the assigned team books are The Night Will Find Us by Matthew Lyons and The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. Let's look these up on Goodreads. I will tell you about them. For The Night Will Find Us, I'm going to have to actually resubscribe to Kindle Unlimited because I am not paying that price for one book. When I'm so used to lately being able to get library books or actually go to the publisher and get an ARC, but this is an independently published book and I don't want to pester an indie author for a free copy of their book that's already published, and I wasn't on their team. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go for Kindle Unlimited, which I will make use of. There are other books I want to read this coming month that will be on there. In this supernatural thriller, 6 teenagers attempt to survive horrors, both human and supernatural, that haunt them as they try to escape a seemingly infinite forest where far older, crueler things wait for them with plans of their own. Rocked by violent tragedy during an end-of-school-year camping trip, 6 teenage friends, Parker, Chloe, Adam, Nikki, Josh, and Kate, find themselves lost and running for their lives through the darkest depths of the New Jersey Pine Barrens, a million-acre forest in the heart of the state. Banding together to survive, they soon discover that there is something far older and crueler waiting for them in the woods. Something that doesn't want them to escape. As they plumb the depths of this forest that has seemingly swallowed them whole, haunted by ghosts, figurative and literal, they come to understand the nature of the ancient cosmic horror that lies dead and dreaming in the lake in the center of the woods. As one among them is transformed through his own desperation into an agent of this dread, formless horror, the ones that remain must fight back to survive as they explore the dead towns and endless sprawls of trees, rivers, and campgrounds deep in the barrens. Steadily picked up one by one by this malevolent force and their turned friend, hope finally comes for the survivors in the form of their respective bonds to the forest itself. One a long-buried secret, the other an uninvited connection that allows one of the friends to see further than she ever could before. Together, their fight to finally escape will take them to the heart of the woods and the secrets buried there, but only one of them will make it out alive. Alright, that took way too long to record because This synopsis has so many errors in it. I'm not a published author yet, so I don't know how the author program works on Goodreads, but please, please edit your listings so they're readable. Again, this is a teen book. I didn't pick this one. It sounds really interesting. It does sound like a very typical horror movie, and I'm excited to read it. It's not something I would have picked up on my own, which is exciting. I wish it wasn't so expensive. I wish this wasn't the thing pushing me to subscribe to Kindle Unlimited again. So the other teen book, The Only Good Indians, this one has been on my TBR for quite a while now. I have it on Libby in the read later holding pattern as an audiobook, which is great. I love audiobooks these days. They go so much faster. So this one, I intended to kind of like hate read it, but like curiously. At first, when I heard that there was a book called The Only Good Indians, I was mad about it. I was so mad about it because how dare somebody in the 21st century use that phrase as a title? And then I found out the author is Native American. So now I'm curious, what's the justification for using that title if he's describing himself, basically? So I'm very curious, and now it's a team read. I'm gonna get 100 points for my team for reading it, so now I'm finally going to accept that audiobook when it comes back around on Libby. Let's read the much briefer, hopefully easier to read synopsis. The creeping horror of Paul Tremblay meets Tommy Orange's There in a dark novel of revenge, cultural identity, and the cost of breaking from tradition in this latest novel from the Jordan Peele of horror literature, Stephen Graham Jones. Seamlessly blending classic horror and dramatic narrative with sharp social commentary, The Only Good Indians follows 4 American Indian men after a disturbing event from their youth puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. Tracked by an entity bent on revenge, these childhood friends are helpless as the culture and traditions they left behind catch up to them in a violent, vengeful way. I wonder if this has something to do with a Wendigo. So yeah, this sounds interesting once you get past being mad at the term used for the title. I'm looking forward to finally reading this one. I'm glad I finally have a reason to read this one because, like I said, it's been on my TBR, but I just haven't had time for it. So I will earn 100 points for my team finally reading this one. Moving on, the challenge prompts, we gain 50 points for our team for each of these that we fulfill. We have to read a horror with a black cover, a slasher horror, a horror with a skull or blood on the cover, a horror by a female author, a horror involving a disappearance, and a horror poll pick, which means here on the community tab, over on Twitter, those kind of things, I'm going to put up a poll with some of my top picks, and you guys are going to decide what my last 50-point read is. So for a book with a black cover, I plan to read House of Salt and Sorrow by Erin A. Craig. In a manor by the sea, 12 sisters are cursed. Anna Lee lives a sheltered life at Highmore, a manor by the sea, with her sisters, their father, and stepmother. Once they were 12, but loneliness fills the grand halls now that 4 of the girls' lives have been cut short. Each death was more tragic than the last: the plague, a plummeting fall, a drowning, a slippery plunge, and there are whispers throughout the surrounding villages that the family is cursed by the gods. Disturbed by a series of ghostly visions, Annalie becomes increasingly suspicious that the deaths were no accidents. Her sisters have been sneaking out every night to attend glittering balls, dancing until dawn in their silk gowns and shimmering slippers, and Annalie isn't sure whether to try to stop them or to join their forbidden trysts, because who or what are they really dancing with? When Annalie's involvement with a mysterious stranger who has secrets of his own intensifies, it's a race to unravel the darkness that has fallen over her family before it claims her next. So yeah, this one sounds intense. I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm gonna say that about every book, but like, I'm looking forward to this one. I'm really glad it has a black cover. So for the next one, for slasher horror, everybody was recommending that I read The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix, but the waitlist for that one on Libby is way too long, and knowing that I can get it on Libby, I'm not going to pay for it. Maybe I'll end up picking it up on Kindle Unlimited if I have time at the end of the month. Who knows? Probably not. But it is eventually on my TBR. I do have a hold on Libby. Eventually I will get to it. The one I am picking in its place is Such a Pretty Smile by Kristi DeMeester, and I got this one on NetGalley, so I have to read it in October anyway. A biting novel from an electrifying new voice, Such a Pretty Smile is a heart-stopping tour de force about powerful women, angry men, and all the ways in which girls fight against the forces that try to silence them. There's something out there that's killing. Known only as the Cur, he leaves no traces save for the torn bodies of girls on the verge of becoming women, who are known as troublemakers, those who refuse to conform to know their place. Girls who don't know when to shut up. 2019, 13-year-old Lila Sawyer has secrets she can't share with anyone. Not the school psychologist she's seeing, not her father, who has a new wife and a new baby, and not her mother, the infamous Caroline Sawyer, a unique artist whose eerie sculptures, made from bent twigs and crumpled leaves, have made her a local celebrity. But soon, Lila feels haunted from within, terrorized by a delicious evil that shows her how to find her voice until she is punished for using it. 2004, Caroline Sawyer hears dogs everywhere, snarling, barking, teeth snapping, that no one else seems to notice. At first, she blames the phantom sounds on her insomnia and her acute stress in caring for her ailing father. But then the delusions begin to take shape, both in her waking hours and in the violent, visceral sculptures she creates while in a trance. Her fiancé is convinced she needs help. Her new psychiatrist waves her problems away with pills. But Caroline's past is a dark cellar, filled with repressed memories and a lurking horror that the men around her can't understand. As past demons become a present threat, both Caroline and Lila must chase the source of this unrelenting oppressive power to its malignant core. Brilliantly paced, unsettling to the bone, and unapologetically fierce, Such a Pretty Smile is a powerful allegory for what it can mean to be a woman, and an untamed rallying cry for anyone ever told to sit down, shut up, and smile pretty. I love the sound of this. This sounds amazing, and this is definitely one I would read anyway. This is one of the books where, like, sometimes NetGalley goes, oh hey, you're a pretty good reviewer for us, you like this category, check this one out. And I did, because it fit for Spooktober, but I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I looked twice, because this sounds amazing. For Read a Horror with a skull or blood on the cover, I just asked friends on a bookish Discord for horror recommendations, and this is the first one that came up that fit that description, so we're going with it. A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, and it's relatively short and I found it on Libby. So, a lyrical and dreamy reimagining of Dracula's Bride, A Dowry of Blood is a story of desire, obsession, and emancipation. Saved from the brink of death by a mysterious stranger, Constanta is transformed from a medieval peasant into a bride fit for an undying king. But when Dracula draws a cunning aristocrat and a starving artist into his web of passion and deceit, Constanta realizes that her beloved is capable of terrible things. Finding comfort in the arms of her rival consorts, she begins to unravel her husband's dark secrets. With the lives of everyone she loves on the line, Constanta will have to choose between her own freedom and her love for her husband. The bonds forged by blood can only be broken by death. Sounds pretty good if you like vampire fiction, which I do. Classic vampire fiction, no sparkling. For a horror written by a female author, I have another NetGalley title that I am so excited to have been picked for. I didn't know about this one before Daniel Green made fun of the creepy cover. Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw. Cassandra Khaw's Nothing But Blackened Teeth is a gorgeously creepy haunted house tale steeped in Japanese folklore and full of devastating plot twists. A Heian-era mansion stands abandoned, its foundations resting on the bones of a bride and its walls packed with the remains of a girl sacrificed to keep her company. It's the perfect wedding venue for a group of thrill-seeking friends. But a night of food, drinks, and games quickly spirals into a nightmare. For lurking in the shadows of the bride is a black smile and a hungry heart. And she gets lonely down there in the dirt. So, yeah. Sounds like it's just as creepy as that cover, and I'm here for it. It's also fairly short, fortunately. It's only a novella. The book is 128 pages, but I was approved for the audiobook, so it'll be even shorter. I can listen to it at 2 times speed like I normally do. I'm crazy, I know. And for the last 50 pointer that I get to pick, this is the slasher horror When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. And this is another one, I almost got this one on NetGalley when it was available. I didn't. The cover looks like, you know, a million other books, don't you agree? But I found it on Libby. I'm going to be able to listen to it during October, so I picked it. The gentrification of a Brooklyn neighborhood takes on a sinister new meaning. Sydney Green is Brooklyn-born and raised, but her beloved neighborhood seems to change every time she blinks. Condos are sprouting like weeds, for sale signs are popping up overnight, and neighbors she's known all her life are disappearing. To hold on to her community's past and present, Sydney channels her frustrations into a walking tour and finds an unlikely and unwanted assistant in one of the new arrivals to her block, her neighbor Theo. But Sydney and Theo's deep dive into history quickly becomes a dizzying descent into paranoia and fear. Their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the push to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. When does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do people go when gentrification pushes them out? Can Sydney and Theo trust each other? Or themselves? Long enough to find out before they too disappear. I love it. It sounds so good. All these books I might have missed out on if I wasn't doing Spooktober. So some of the titles that I'm going to be putting in the poll for you to pick, I might put that poll up today. One of them is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno-Garcia. And if you know anything about Gothic horror or you've been involved in BookTube lately, you've probably heard of Mexican Gothic. It released last year, June of last year, by Del Rey Books, so big name publisher. It seems like everybody loves this one, and it's true to the Gothic horror nature where it's not gruesome, it's not gory, it's suspense, and it's what's not actually spelled out on page. After receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin begging for someone to save her from a mysterious doom, Naomi Taboda heads to the High Palace, a distant house in the Mexican countryside. She's not sure what she'll find. Her cousin's husband, a handsome Englishman, is a stranger, and Naomi knows little about the region. Naomi is an unlikely rescuer. She's a glamorous debutante, and her chic gowns and perfect red lipstick are more suited for the cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing. But she's also tough and smart, with an indomitable will, and she's not afraid. Not of her cousin's new husband, who is both menacing and alluring, not of his father, the ancient patriarch, who seems to be fascinated by Naomi, and not even of the house itself, which begins to invade Naomi's dreams with visions of blood and doom. Her only ally in this inhospitable abode is the family's youngest son. Shy and gentle, he seems to want to help Naomi, but might also be hiding dark knowledge of his family's past, for there are many secrets behind the walls of High Place. The family's once colossal wealth and fated mining empire kept them from prying eyes, but as Naomi digs deeper, she unearths stories of violence and madness. And Naomi, mesmerized by the terrifying yet seductive world of High Place, may soon find it impossible to ever leave this enigmatic house behind. So yeah, I've been wanting to read that one since it was released. It fits into Team Horror, Team Zombie, so that will be on my poll today. Another one that will be on the poll is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix, who was also mentioned before, I think. I either already mentioned him or I was going to read a different book. Fried Green Tomatoes and Steel Magnolias meets Dracula in this southern-flavored supernatural thriller set in the 90s about a women's book club that must protect its suburban community from a mysterious and handsome stranger who turns out to be a blood-sucking fiend. Patricia Campbell has always planned for a big life, but after giving up her career as a nurse to marry an ambitious doctor and become a mother, Patricia's life has never felt smaller. The days are long, her kids are ungrateful, her husband is distant, and her to-do list is never really done. The one thing she has to look forward to is her book club, a group of Charleston mothers united only by their love of true crime and suspenseful fiction. In these meetings, they're much more likely to discuss the FBI's recent siege of Waco, as much as the ups and downs of marriage and motherhood. But when an artistic and sensitive stranger moves into the neighborhood, the book club's meetings turn into speculation about the newcomer. Patricia is initially attracted to him, but when some local children go missing, she starts to suspect the newcomer is involved. She begins her own investigation, assuming that he's a Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy. What she uncovers is far more terrifying, and soon she, and her book club are the only people standing between the monster they've invited into their homes and their unsuspecting community. Guys, don't invite vampires into your homes. Alright, so I haven't decided which other books I'm going to put on the poll yet, but those are my wishes. Hint, hint. The other books I have on the list, the other ones that were suggested to me by my book club discords that, like, actually sounded interesting that I may look into. I have Horrid by Katrina Lino, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, Hell House by Richard Matheson, Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. I know I've pronounced that wrong. The Haunting of Ashburn House by Darcy Coates, Ghost Camera by Darcy Coates, Poor Things by Daniel Barnett, Nightfall by Daniel Barnett, The Fireman by Joe Hill, The Ritual by Adam Neville, Apartment 16 by Adam Neville, We Have Always Lived in a Castle by Shirley Jackson, and that one keeps coming up on Libby. It wants me to read it, and it's short, so I probably will. Asylum by Patrick McGrath, I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. Yes, I've seen the movie. I know books are always different. I didn't like the movie, so I don't know. Kill Creek by Scott Thomas, Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I love the title. The Road by Cormac McCarthy, The Blood Gospel by James Rollins and Rebecca Cantrell, All These Bodies by Kendare Blake. Kendare Blake has a brand new YA novel that would have fit into this theme, except it was released in September, not October, so I didn't include it. But if you don't know, I am on the HarperCollins influencer team, and I'm specifically on the YA list to the HCC Frenzy, and so we get together 3 times a year to do previews of the catalog, and we actually got to have Kendare Blake and Tiffany D. Jackson in the video call this time. It was really great. So we got to hear all about her latest one. That might be the new one. Now I need to check. Oh, yes, that is the newest one. Published September 21st this year by Quill Tree Books, which is an imprint of HarperCollins. The Resting Place by Camilla Sten. I have that one on NetGalley. I will be reading it no matter what because, yes, I love Camilla Sten. I read The Village recently, and that one was one of those NetGalley going, hey, you might like this, and then I didn't get to it in time, and then I listened to the audiobook, and I'm like, why didn't I get to this in time? This is, like, a new favorite author. So, yeah, I have it on NetGalley. I have to read it. I'm gonna try to fit it in for the challenge. Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon, which I had on NetGalley and I definitely didn't get to in time, but I've got the audiobook reserved on Libby, so we'll get to it. The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Delilah Harris. And as I already mentioned, probably not going to fit in because the wait on Libby is way too long. The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. There's Grady Hendrix, that's why we already knew his name. So, are you guys participating in Spooktober this year? Are you interested? There is a link down below. There are 2 other teams. There are people reading mysteries and people reading crime, I think. I'm probably going to get Kindle Unlimited because another book club has some titles that I need to get off of Kindle Unlimited. But if I don't, there's actually a team book for the mystery team that I might substitute for The Night Will Find Us. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope I have as much time as I think I have. If you're going to participate in Spooktober, let me know which team you're on. Let me know what your handle is on Discord so we can chat. And I will see you guys on Friday with another art video. If you're looking for more to watch, I've got some suggestions up on the left side of the screen now. Don't forget to like, comment, maybe even subscribe, and if you like living life creatively, whatever that means to you, I'd love to have you along for the ride. Bye, guys!